imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total Protonic Reversal.
Protonic Reversal.
Protonic Reversal with your host, Conan Neutron. Broadcasting from a secret underground lair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
A gigantic middle finger to everything that is rock about music, rock and roll, and corporate power.
The thing is, though, if you don't laugh, you're going to go on a killing spree with sharpened nails.
Confidence of a hero or a fool. I wasn't exactly certain which.
Could not be more professional.
It's only one I choose to devote my life to. That's okay.
It means something. It means something.
And they got away.
You know, that's my take on it. What's yours?
Protonic Reversal.
That's like a science thing, right?
Indeed it is. It is a science thing. It's a science place. It's a scientific fact that we are all up in your face. It is time once again for the one, the only Protonic Reversal. Welcome to it. Episode 402 of this show. And I'm going to be very shortly, imminently, some might say, going to be talking to a couple of friends, former guests of the show, half of the band Chat Pile, who have a new record called Cool World. Very excited to talk to those fellas about their new jams and everything else. But first, before that, welcome to Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. I am your host, Conan Neutron. I'm a rock and roll lifer who's been touring and recording for 24 years. Most known for the band Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends. Music is a huge part of my life, and I use the format of this very long-running podcast to talk about music with musicians whose work I enjoy and respect, but who may not be household names. This is episode 402. Now, if this is your first time listening to the show, archives of it are available for free. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding, at protonicreversal.com. However, if you want to support the show and get episodes sooner, you can do so for $1 a month at patreon.com/protonicreversal. And if you like the show or even just a single episode, please feel free to like, subscribe on your platform of choice, share it around. All of that helps people discover the show, beats back the almighty algorithmic overlords, and it's just a darn nice thing to do. So yeah, Cool World. Cool World by Chat Pile, the much anticipated by me, but also other people, new record. Let's go ahead and just bring them on. Bring these nice young men on. Stin, Raygun, welcome back to the show, man. Great to have you guys.
What's going on?
You sound like how I sounded about 10 minutes ago. Yeah. What are we doing? Point me in the direction of the microphone.
What's up, everybody?
Record's great. I really enjoyed it. I am super glad to hear some new material from you guys. I know that you were very diligent at working on it, and that all of that doesn't matter because efforts are not results. But I think this is a very, very good follow-up to a very excellent record that you had before that. And I think anyone that is remotely interested in your band will have a great time with this record. So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
So tell me about, and it's just the two of yous. So this should be a little more less anarchic and maybe involving third wave ska. What was it? No, Swing Revival last time. I think we went on a derivation for. Stin, why don't you hit me with the recording process of this one? Like, because there's a lot more pressure for this one to a certain degree. I mean, at least from the outside world, there's a lot more interest, I should say, than there was before. Which isn't to say there wasn't interest.
Sure.
But I'm just curious how different of a recording process was it? So, Stin, why don't you lead us off with that?
Well, it's funny. A lot of people have been bringing up the whole pressure part of it, and I don't really feel like we felt that much, honestly. I mean, right. I know hypothetically it's out there because there's people actually paying attention to what we do for once, But yeah, I don't know. We literally did this exactly the same as we did God's Country with maybe just a couple of differences. One of the differences is that we actually demoed out the entire album in full before we recorded the album versions, as opposed to God's Country. what you're basically hearing are the demos of all those songs. Like once we got to a version that was like, yeah, this is the song, we were also like, oh, this is also the recording. Whereas this time around, we just made sure we had demo versions of everything, and then we went back and actually did like better, stronger versions of all the songs for the record.
But the skeletal structure of the song is more or less the same as from inception in the demo process.
Yeah, I think maybe like one song we like knocked out. You know, we took out like a verse section or something like that. But otherwise, the demos pretty much mirror identically what the final songs are. They're just recorded better, performances better, all that kind of thing.
Right, and you know what they are. So
yeah.
You know, once you know what they are, it's a little bit easier. But there is that fine line between, you know, the other end of, I guess, is like Steely Dan or something, right, where they just keep grinding on something for like years and years and years until like all feeling has been removed from it surgically.
Yeah, I will say like this, we're still getting better at playing these songs. That's just the problem with us, or maybe all bands are like this, but it's like we have a tendency to record stuff before we're like super comfortable playing it. So what you're hearing is us kind of like pushing ourselves maybe 10% out of our comfort range whenever we record songs like that. But yeah, so that was one difference. And then the really big difference is that this time, instead of mixing it ourselves, we handed mixing duties off to Ben Greenberg from Uniform.
That's right.
Yeah, that was
stellar band. Yeah, and talented dude. Like,
yeah, and the nicest guy too. Like it was cool. Like we originally had no intention of having somebody mix the record, but he hit us up. He was like, "Hey, please let me mix this thing." And we were like, "Well, we're not sure. Like, you know, maybe part of the magic of Chat Pile is that we have this sort of like outsider art, folk art, like amateur quality to the recordings. And if someone who knows what they're doing goes in there and actually changes it,
it might ruin it.
It ruin the formula."
Yeah.
But he understood that. We had like a meeting. He kind of talked about the philosophy behind, you know, what we were trying to achieve. And he went ahead and recorded a song, or mixed a song, like just on spec, just to show us what he could do.
Yeah.
And it came back to us. I mean, there were a few notes, but like it was 95% perfect already. So.
And that's interesting too, because sometimes just having someone from the outside come in and engage with it can make you hear things in a different way that if you're so deep, like I'm thinking of like Apocalypse Now or something, right? Yeah. You know, where it's just like, oh yeah, do you even know what you're making anymore to a certain degree? Not that you guys went down that route, but just when you have somebody from the outside who does have not only skilled ears, good ears, but a good head for the kind of music you make, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, he totally gets the world that we're coming from, you know, and yeah, like having like an outsider perspective is so helpful, because especially with mixing, right? Because mixing is like the most like hypnotically mind-melting process of the entire record making ordeal, right? Because you're just hearing the same song over and over and over to where it's not even like processing in your mind anymore as a song. It's like ones and zeros.
It's not even music. Yeah.
And you're just trying to pull it together to where it makes sense. And if you have someone else like kind of bear the brunt of that, it's a lot better.
I'm pretty good at every part of the recording process, except for admittedly I'm horrible at mixing. I'm like, take it away from me, please. Yeah. Like that's, I'm just forget it. Like I might as well, you know, my D&D character, my stats would be like mixing would be like 4 or something.
Critical failure.
Total critical failure. I would need like a wand to like +5 to save versus mix fail.
Well, my problem with mixing is that like I kind of like it in small doses, but I don't really know like the math of it at all. I just kind of like twiddle things until it sounds right to me,
right,
and then move on. But like hypothetically, you know, once I hand it to the mastering guy, he probably looks at it as just like, what the fuck is it? Like,
what are these guys up to?
Yeah, what am I supposed to do with this thing?
Sure, yeah. Big R, tell me about the process of engaging with this record, writing lyrics. You have a very allegorical style sometimes, and it's sometimes it can be easier, and sometimes it can be harder to like fit things in that you want, that you're proud of. They're you're making you're putting yourself out there with it. Tell me about engaging with this. Like, did the lyrics come pretty easily along with the demos, or was it more of a longer process?
Yeah. This album was easier to write than the last one for me, just because I had a more comfortable place to work and stuff for this album.
That helps so much.
Like the last one, I was just like, I didn't really have like a space. I could just listen to it over and over and hammer out, figure out the melody and then the lyrics, you know, or whatever. Like sometimes I'm just typing and there's just like stanza, tons of stuff. We pick the one that works and we start there and then we build from that or whatever. But most of the lyrics, to be honest with you, I wrote kind of like day of recording the demo.
Yeah.
With some exceptions, because there's some songs we've failed at, or I failed at, like multiple times, to like redo completely what I was doing and stuff. But then, for a lot of songs on here, that was the case where it was just like I'd wake up, and that's how I am at school and stuff. I mean, it's not a good way to live, but I work well in the pressure cooker.
Right.
And like if I have like, I'll just wake up and it's like, okay, time to do this super important to my grade essay, the lyrics to our album, you know.
Eminem Lose Yourself starts playing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, kind of.
I've worked with Randy long enough to know this is true, and so I don't question it. The process works, you know.
Well, and there's something that makes it real when there's a deadline, right? I mean, it's sort of like, well, I could do, that'd be cool, and then you're like, oh no, this is like whatever it is going to be what is happening now. So, no, that's interesting because I think that like there's no wrong way to do it, right? And there's some people that write lyrics without music, which I'm like, wow, that sounds insane to me, but okay, you know, like good on you. But I think you have a opportunity to kind of do the best of both worlds, right? Like you can keep it, keep like the dreamlike state of creativity going, but also have it be like more planned out. It's interesting that you said like some things didn't work too. So it's good that you had like the foreknowledge to know like, oh yeah, that ain't working, or that's not what I want it to be.
Oh yeah. You immediately hear it. You're like, uh-oh, this is bad.
I mean, I hear it in other bands' music. I'm like, did anyone else hear this?
Sure.
Where it's like, what are you doing?
But maybe that's one of my superpowers and Stin's superpowers is that we recognize the bad and we're able to just be like, nah, let's not do that. Luckily, it doesn't happen that often.
No, it doesn't. And I have a tendency, like even in those situations, to be like, let's just put down the thing that doesn't work. That way you can like hear the whole package and realize what doesn't work about it, and maybe use that as a tool to fit, you know. So I'm usually like, yeah, this is a bad idea, but let's go ahead and commit to it today, and then we'll come back and revisit it or whatever.
See, that's interesting because the committing to the bit, right? Committing to it is something that I think a lot of younger musicians will fail to do, and there seems to be this idea, oh, if I commit to it, then that's forever. It's like, well, no, just try the idea out and see it through. Because it may seem bad at first, and then it's like, oh, no, actually, that was really good. That was
this is an eternal argument with me and Luther Manhole, like when we're writing the musical parts, because like, he has a tendency to, like, very knee-jerk, just like, no, I don't like this, or that idea is not going to work. I'm like, no, we have to execute it one time and see what it does, and, you know, maybe I'll agree that it won't work, or maybe it will, but we won't know until we actually, like, fit it into the puzzle the way that it's intended, and then we can make decisions.
And he's just sitting there joylessly playing the guitar. Fine.
Well, lucky for me, he'll usually cater to me and try it out. He'll give it a college try, and I would say it's like 50-50. And sometimes it's me being like, oh yeah, you were right, that sucks.
Sure. I mean, there's always the chance that maybe it just sucks, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a chance for that if it's something that you like work on for years and like, oh wait, this isn't any good. Like I think of Some Kind of Monster, right? When Lars shows that fucking song to his dad, the Viking, and like he's just like so proud of that like sub Sigur Rós like dude yelling in a hallway nonsense, and then his dad just goes, "If it was me, I would delete that," and Lars looks like so crestfallen because he clearly like his dad's opinion matters a lot to him, but it's like, yo, your dad's right, this sucks, this is not good, this is not what you should, I don't know what you should be doing, but it sure as hell isn't that.
Not it, yeah. Or do this somewhere else, not on the next Metallica record.
Exactly, it's not what anyone is looking for in a bad way, like whereas Lulu was like, that's not what anyone was looking for in a puzzling way. I mean, nobody needed to make that record, but it was like, hey, quite the flex for a band that didn't need to do that. You know?
I love that album exists. I mean, I'm not like, oh, Lulu's good to listen to or anything.
Oh no, of course not.
It's so important for bands like that are established to just fuck around every once in a while. You got to have fun and you've got to experiment. Otherwise, what are you even up there doing?
It's a huge swing, and it's also something that you're like, I'm sorry, what? Like when I heard of that, I was like Velvet Underground Lou Reed, right? Metal Machine Music Lou Reed?
He's already collaborated with Kiss. What's that album called?
Oh, God. I forgot about that.
This is the first I've ever.
There's Lou Reed Kiss. What? Like collaboration.
How is this?
I'm not kidding.
You're right, and I don't remember anything about it. And what's funny about that is at the end of this tour, A World Without Heroes is a song. It was from Music from the Elder, which I use as a example of a bad concept record. Like the thing you don't want to end up with is Operation Mindcrime and Music from the Elder.
No, it's funny you bring that up. I listened to Operation Mindcrime today.
Oh really?
that's funny.
It's one of those records that comes up.
Queensryche, everybody.
It's Queensryche.
Well,
yeah.
You know,
it comes up constantly and like, oh, it's a masterpiece. It's actually very good, and I'm very like traditional heavy metal positive. I love stuff like that. But I was listening to it, and I'm just like, what?
No, it's garbage.
I don't understand.
It's trash from the trash can. Who said that? Who said it was great? Peace and love. Like, opinions vary on Earth's shape, but it's a bad record. I mean, like, look, I'm not saying Queensryche made the record they wanted to make. Good for them.
Yeah, more credit to them. I will say it's like they really are a lot of concept records about how rock and roll is going to be illegal in the future. If people only knew that nobody cares about rock and roll.
No, it's far worse than that. Nobody cares. Nobody cares at all. It's complete ambivalence. Yeah. No, but it's funny. It's funny you bring that up, Raygun, because I listened to at the end of this last tour. I went on it was somewhere through Indiana. I was going out. I'm going to listen to a lot of solo Lou Reed because that's not a thing I ever sit. I listen to Velvet Underground all the time. I'm a huge Loaded fan, actually. I listen to that record all the time. But I listen to a lot of solo Lou Reed, and the ratio of like great stuff to like, yep, sure did that is about what I remember. But that is a perfect example of someone that he was not afraid to try new crap, right? Like, and there's like, if you listen to like the Rock and Roll Animal versions of like some of those Velvet Underground songs, like, oh, I could see where like,
I love it.
Like a Hetfield would get stoked on that. It's fucking awesome. Yeah. It's totally great, and it was not the cool thing to do necessarily at the time either, which is interesting to me as well. And again, Metal Machine music, usually a punchline in like a high fidelity style joke, but good respect.
No.
You know, I mean,
I own a copy of it. It's unlistenable, but great. It's wonderful at the same time. You know?
Yeah. You're glad it exists, even if you don't really want to engage.
I strive to be that kind of artist that releases stuff like that. You know.
Well, and that's so. I think you guys have an interest, and it's been interesting to me. I didn't realize when I first saw you guys, when I first played to you, like I didn't realize how early in the band's iteration that was, because you came through very authoritative. You just came through as like kind of knowing what your whole deal was, and maybe that comes from the fact that everybody's kind of played in other bands before. It's nobody's first rodeo, so on and so on. But you had a voice, which is something that I think some bands spend a lifetime trying to find, and you have an internal compass that you follow. And I think that is so important. And I think some bands and artists operate from kind of a place of fear, maybe. And they just either they don't follow that compass, or they don't know they have it, which is sadder.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, is like they're not even aware that you should have a compass or whatever.
Right,
like maybe, exactly. And it like I don't think there's any wrong way necessarily to engage with like music or make art and stuff. So it's fine. It's like if you're that type of band, like more power to you. But I think the bands that really have mattered the most to me, or like stand out the most, are the ones like you're saying that have like a voice and have a desire to do something maybe a little bit different or unique, or at least honest. I think maybe is the real baseline level that you need to have, you know. But you know, I think there's some guys who get into bands just because they literally like picking up a guitar and noodling on guitar. Some people that want to make clones of other bands and all kinds of stuff. And, you know, all of it's valid in its own way. But I think the stuff that tends to rise to the top a little bit are definitely those bands that follow their intuition, you know, or have an intuition to begin with, you know?
Yeah. And they're like, you know, the beautiful freaks or something, if you will. I mean, I'm thinking of like, yeah, nobody was like Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum was not like, hey, let's go write some hits.
No.
like I don't think so.
I'm still trying to figure out what their goal is, you know.
I love them, but man,
Oh,
they're on their own freaking alternate universe system. Like it's
quite almost literally, like they just operate so independently of every, you know, like whatever's happening in current music, they're not aware. They don't care. They just do their thing.
It makes me jealous sometimes. I'm like, oh, I wish I was that disconnected from this nonsense. God damn it. That seems so great. That seems so great that you're able to do that. I'm so jealous.
Especially if you can do that and find your audience still, you know, that's like the testament to how like miraculously good they are, you know?
Yeah, that's the key element is you know, if you can find and connect with it. But anyway, that's something that I think you guys have had. Well, first of all, last time we talked about the Mask. It's not even a trilogy. It's gonna be like a. It's going to be like the
ongoing series.
It's going to be the Up series of songs or something where it's like you revisit every 7 years. No, but like I you know, that made me happy when I saw you know, MASC Mask on this album. Like, these magnificent bastards, they've done it again. Like, that's the kind of shtick that for people that engage with the band and engage with the music and like what you guys do, that's cool. And it's cool because it's something that a different set of people might be like, that's dumb. Don't do that. And I'm like, that's dumb. Do that. That's great. That's great.
Look dumb, you know, that's kind of part of the whole package.
And, you know, just little things like that. And it's something that most of my favorite bands have some degree of engagement like that. I mean, the difference is that you guys have you know, been able to build like a really interesting rapport with people worldwide that have engaged with the music, which is a treat. I mean, it's lovely when that happens. That should happen a whole hell of a lot more, right?
It is a treat, and it should happen more.
Yeah, and I think you guys have a good handle on yourselves, and you have a good handle on the band. And again, you've kept an eye on that compass for whatever it is you should be doing. And it's, again, not like I'm expecting a swing revival record out of you guys or nothing, but you know,
no, we're capable of anything. I feel like, you know?
Yeah. It's a Big Bad Voodoo Daddy collab album. Okay, sure. That's your Lulu, by the way.
Oh, we're gonna have so many Lulus, and by the time this band is done, it's gonna be unreal.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, it comes down to, it's different. Like it's easy to do high art when nobody's engaging with it, right? Like it's like, I'm an artist. Okay, cool. Right on, man. But when you actually have people that it means something to them, it means something to their lives, to their being, like they engage with in such a way that you're creating something positive in their life by existing. And again, I'm not saying that like, hey, there's a lot of pressure necessarily, but it's a different style of engagement. So has there been growing pains with the band jumping up, if you will, to different levels as it has?
There have, but they're mostly like on kind of like a business side, at least for me anyway, because I do like the management stuff for the band. So the growing pains for me have just been like figuring out literal business stuff, you know, but artistically and like the kind of more public facing stuff, it's really been about as smooth and easy. I mean, we're like so lucky. We're so lucky that the trajectory of this band has gone the way it has, because like you were saying, fans seem to be like really engaged with us. There are like, even though we're a relatively young band, there are diehards that pick apart all the little nuances and of what we do and stuff. So I really can't think of any negatives on that side. You know, it's all just kind of more like boring accounting stuff, you know?
And I'm glad you bring that up, because I think that's, first of all, that's a piece of being in a indie band or whatever you want to call it that people don't talk about enough, which is to say that there's very little mechanism or framework in place to support for that. Like everyone's kind of like left on their own as rugged individuals to sort of figure it out themselves, which is kind of sad. And it's almost like, oh, did you just expect that there would never be like any band that would make money? Like nobody thought about this. You know? I guess, I don't know. I mean, 90s are over. Maybe. Okay.
Yeah, well, that might be part of it. The Ken Mode guys, run like an accounting business for.
That's right.
But but their stuff's all Canadian, so it doesn't really apply to us. But they were the first people we hit up because we're like, hey, you guys know what you're doing. Help us, please.
Yeah.
And you're cool, and we trust you. But yeah,
there should be like a master class or something. I don't know what would it be like like a Udemy course or something. I don't know.
You have to go to like a technical college and learn like how to use QuickBooks or whatever.
But anyway, nobody's tuning into this show to hear about accounting.
No,
so
we're getting into a weird rabbit hole discussion here.
Raygun, tell me about the what were you trying to do with this record? Were there any goals like lyrically of like, hey, here's something I haven't done before, or here's something I want to lean into? Like, is there any new tricks?
Well, not really. As with the last record, I kind of had a running mental list of topics I wanted to discuss on the thing. But this
do you take notes? Are you a note taker for that kind of thing?
Not really. I keep it all right here, you know.
In the old Casaba.
But I mean, I kind of let it happen. This album, I really let happen what it is. But there is a little bit of thought and a little bit of like maybe secret repetition of formulas, or something from the last album. In previous times, I'm like, let's do this kind of song now. We need this kind of song, so let's do this,
right. Yeah.
But no, I mean, nothing really changed in terms of like what I was trying to do.
Are you coming from a place of like the sounds and like the musicality of the vocals come first, or is it that kind of follows like how you fit it into the music with the words that you want to have?
Well, you figure out how it's going to go, or maybe you come up with a sentence that you can sing over and it's like, okay, this is the pattern here. And sometimes I count syllables, but not all the time,
Yeah.
And then you just kind of figure it out. I mean, once you have the words, then you can just vocalize it however you want. Then that's kind of I'm not going to say the fun part because I think all of it's pretty fun. But yeah, I feel like if you don't have words to sing and you're trying to just do crazy like vocals and stuff, that's when people feel embarrassed maybe and stuff. But if you have words that you wrote that are fine, then you figure out how to sing those words crazy, and then you're cooking with, you're making a stew there. I lost my metaphor.
You're cooking with something. There's something being cooked. That's
you're cooking with gas. You're doing the big thing. So
no, well, and it seems because it seems like there are some kind of rich topics for people to dive into and reinterpret, and there isn't necessarily going to be a literalist translation for everything. And it just occurred to me, I swear, for years I was, I'm not a lyrics guy. I was one of those guys, which is like, and then I was like, I was an idiot. I was a complete idiot, not like missing out on like things. Like, for instance, I mean, I can't believe I'm invoking it. Warren Zevon, right? Musically, it's all right. There's a few tunes I really love, but I'm like, that dude could really craft a phrase. And that's, and respect, and that's something where, like a Leonard Cohen or something, it's like, even if you're not into the music, like you just got to hear how he puts it together. It's like, that's great. And when people only kind of draw influence from other bands in the genre that they're in, it's like, that's so limiting to me. And it, again, that's something of just like realizing you're being a knucklehead later on in life, right? But I think that, the way... Like Chat Pile obviously would be different with a different vocalist, but even though, like, peace and love, Raygun, no one's gonna mistake you for Pavarotti, right? But like you have you have such you have such a unique thing and a way of interjecting in the music that it does seem thoughtful, even though like the reckless abandon definitely kind of factors into it. Like it's a nice balance beam to walk.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it tends to be a cultural cliche that, oh, the singer's just like, oh, they're crazy. Oh, they're nuts. Just wind them up and let them go. And it's like, okay, well, maybe. But also, like, there is usually, for really good ones, there is thought behind it. And then there's things that you do, and you're engaging with the audience in a different way. Mm-hmm. While sometimes also engaging with the audience in the same way as the rest of the band. And it's important. And I think it's downplayed in, like, heavy, weird, noisy, whatever the hell you want to call it, music, for whatever reason. Or venerated and celebrated for reasons I don't appreciate or respect. So I guess what I'm going with all that is, are you I just go to a space and do a thing kind of singer? Or, like where are you at with it? Like where's the balance mean between staying grounded with the music and what you're doing and letting it transcend or go to like a Lynch-like dreamlike state or something?
Are you talking about live performance or in the studio? Right?
Honestly, both.
I mean, it's all just kind of like having fun to me. I know that's maybe not the best answer, but
it's more succinct than my question.
I mean, I want to make good art, I mean, this in terms of the live show, I want to put on a good show. I'm not saying that what I'm doing up on stage is like good art, like my dancing and stuff like that. But I'm just trying to like have fun and, create an energy vibe for people that feel like they can have fun too, hopefully at the show. But in terms of like doing it in the studio and stuff, I mean, I don't know, like none of this stuff that we do is like autobiographical. Some people like will DM me about stuff like that and be like, oh, sorry this happened to you. It's like it's a song where like a character kills himself or something. Or it's like, I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like,
yeah.
But I like coming up with scenarios like that and writing songs about things like that. And so that is a lot of fun for me to do and get into kind of a character in the studio and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think of like Pamela, right? Whereas like when I listened to that song a bunch and then I was like, hey, wait a second. And like, I was like, is that from the oh, cool. Like it's like a nice little like thing to discover. But I'm also really into that allegorical style, like if Nick Cave would have quite the body count if it was all like first person, right?
Yeah, totally. Totally. It's like, yeah.
Murdering people left and right.
Right, to your credit too, I think something you're not not giving yourself enough credit for is that you're really not afraid to kind of like bare yourself. Like even if you're doing like character songs or whatever, like you don't really shy away from like letting your inner self out kind of nakedly and stuff. Again, maybe it's like through like the funnel of these characters or these lyrics that are allegorical, whatever they may be, but like the performance of it is pretty like raw and real, So
that's true.
I think that's like acting too. You find the truth of the moment and the truth of the character, even if it's not your personal truth at that moment in time.
And kind of like to your point earlier, it is funny. Like so many people, like when there are like vocalists who are like maybe a little more unhinged. I think that's what makes those like say like a David Yao or something, right? Like what makes those guys like that so legendary is that they are putting a lot of thought and a lot of effort into what they're doing, but they make it seem effortless or they make it seem as if it's very spontaneous. And that's sort of like where the genius of people like that lies,
Yeah, and it's Shannon calls it the dancing monkey act, right? Where you have like the ding 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 ding, like the thing and the monkey dances, but also doesn't mean it has to be disingenuous. It doesn't mean it has to be emotionally untrue. Right?
No, not at all. In fact, I think it like people again. It's like the people like that who stand out are the ones who are being honest, But it's still a recited passage that they're doing, It's not like the lyrics are different every single night at a Jesus Lizard show, like he does the same thing every time.
Right.
So there's like thought put into it. It's not, it's not just like made up on the spot or anything. But people feel that way. People think that that's what it is, and maybe that's good because that's part of the illusion that you're creating for them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's the spectacle, right? That's a spectacle aspect. I mean, look, I said, speak of the Jesus Lizard, right? I saw them play a show, and Yao got crowd surfed out to the back where the merch was, and he got deposited in the T-shirt box, and he did like half the song from inside the T-shirt box, and then somebody's like, "Oh, we better get back to the stage." So they lifted him up, and he had a T-shirt stuck to him. I was like, you couldn't plan this. There's no way you could plan this.
Yeah. Was this recently?
No, this like
it's like a long time ago.
Yeah. I was just sitting there being like, wow, this is, and I had seen them like 6 times too at that point, and I was like, haven't seen that before. Like that in a good way. And of course, the rest of the guys were just going, not even like slowing down. They were like only dimly aware that he wasn't on stage. And that works for that band. Yet I've seen, I gotta be real careful about what I say here. I've seen people do shows where similar antics happen, and it's like, this is so self-aware that it's like, I mean, this is like watching an Aerosmith tribute band.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, I don't want to be rude, but I am. And it just comes off as like so calculated and like, okay, you're trying to do that thing. I like
They're
that
posers,
thing.
is what you're saying.
Oh, you're not wrong.
You can definitely tell when people are just going through the motions and stuff of that. Or, if they're just, I don't know, like, because I feel like our live show is pretty active. It's pretty lively, but I don't feel like we're ever like, I don't know. I don't feel like we're, what's the word? I've just seen people be so performative that it kills the illusion of it's like you're watching a Broadway play or something,
Here's where I take the stage drink of Jack Daniels. Oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
great,
you like, I mean, it like Raygun was saying earlier, like very much want to entertain people and like give that energy out, but it's got to be like honest and like it is for us. I mean, I know that we're like dying by the time we get off the stage because we try to keep the energy going the whole time, we have a couple songs that let us slow it down a little bit, but otherwise we're
you need those songs, man. Yeah. That's why I got that. It's not even a fan. It's like a power blower they used. Like, hey, there's a spill in the back and we need it cleaned up. And it just blows on me the entire time. So it's like, Danny Glover gif, too old for this shit.
Yeah. Well, you're wearing the jacket too,
I know. Let's add layers. Good idea. Ugh, idiot.
We were just listening to this live recording we're going to release maybe, and I'm like, the last half of the thing, I'm like panting so hard.
You're just like, fighting for breath. Yeah,
like,
I mean,
damn, yeah.
The other part that's funny is like we play. Like I always forget this. We play our songs so fast live. Like compared to the record, it's like crazy.
Well, and naturally, like that's a natural thing, especially amongst quote unquote rock music for bands to do. But it gets tiring, right? I mean, like, especially if you're not under like perfect conditions, right? If you're any kind of, which, gets hot or like the ventilation is bad or people are smoking or like whatever, or all three of those things. Who knows? Anyway,
Thank God people can't smoke inside anymore.
I know, it's so.
I used to smoke, but now I would be like, it would be a nightmare.
Yeah, could you imagine playing like a packed out club and everybody's smoking? I would die.
I don't have to imagine. I used to have to deal with it, and it was horrible. I'm allergic to cigarette smoke, and if you be playing Pittsburgh or something, like it just was like it looked like The Mist. Yeah. If you look at it in the audience, I'm like, this sucks, and it would suck just to play, but if you have to sing too, oh my god,
it's just like burning.
It was.
Back then, I definitely was a guy that had like a lit cigarette on.
He was just going to smoking tough, yeah. I mean, look, I'm sure it's relaxing. It looks cool, like all right, but it was horrendous.
It's not good. I do not support anyone out there, child or whatever. Don't smoke. Smoking's terrible.
I feel like Pittsburgh was like the lone holdout for a long time. Like they were really holding on to it for a long time.
Iron City.
You could smoke it at the Green Door and Conservatory for a while in OKC for sure.
Exhausting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, smoking. It's bad. Don't do it. Thank you. No, but I think that you guys have you guys are in a situation where it's a vital show. There's engagement. If there's not blood, there's certainly sweat, right? That's going on. Like it's not just somebody like playing to a laptop and and a ukulele or whatever along those lines, and that has a certain amount of physical discipline that's required to do it. And it's none of you guys are spring chickens necessarily, but the idea of, even when you do it, like, you would think that doing it on a larger level means, it's going to be more comfortable. No, not really. Sometimes that's true. But how has that been when you've got these like gigantic, I'm thinking of like the first time I saw pictures of you guys playing Roadburn, and there's just like sea of people. And it's just like, that's a sea. And the first thing I thought of was, wow, cool. Second thought is, that's a lot of sweat. How many gallons of sweat do you breathe in with every inhale of that crowd?
Yeah, I don't need vaccines anymore because
whatever the next 5 variants are flying around.
Sweat into my face. Yeah. In shows like that, weirdly enough, it's so much easier to me because like the adrenaline level is like pumped up.
Yeah.
Like the energy level is pumped up. So you're just like almost on autopilot's the wrong word, because that implies that you're not like, that you're phoning it in some way, but it's just more like the chemicals have taken over and I have no control anymore. Yeah. Like we're just doing this thing,
Roadburn is so weird too, because you're like, there's a big divide between you and the audience. So it's, in terms of like the sweat and stuff, you don't really feel, you're on like we were on the biggest stage we've ever played on. Maybe it felt huge. Like I could just walk forever between the two of them. And I remember watching Deaf Heaven on the same stage and being like, and Brutus, we're like, holy shit, this stage is like massive. And there's like, you come from the back. I don't know. It was weird. It was a different experience. I can't wait to do it again, obviously. But,
it seems great. It sounds terrible. Yeah, no. I still remember I saw Mike Watt, one of his trios, play with, I don't remember who it was, some huge band, right? And it was this gigantic ass stage. And he just set up like, it was the exact same formation as if it was like just a small club show. And they were like the same distance, which is funny because it's like, okay, they're just like all in this little like pyramid formation, like right. But I was like, you know what, respect. Like that's kind of like, it's gonna feel the same, right?
Yeah,
like, okay, that's.
I like having all the space because
I do too, actually.
I move around, I like to pace around all that, like, and when we play like little stages and you're all cramped, that's when I feel like the most like.
Can I tell you the worst thing? Or so I hear, you fucking collide with someone or like knock into a guitar hit. Oh my God. I feel like the biggest asshole in the world. I'm like, wait, are we 15? What's happening right now? But it's like 15. You're lucky at 15 feet on this stage. Thank you.
We played a show in Austin at this little place called the Chess Club. Do you know that place, Conan?
I'm familiar.
And the stage is so small. I can't believe, when I think about it, I'm like, I don't know how we did that. I don't know. Footage used to be up of that. I totally had COVID. I totally had COVID at that show.
Oh man!
This is years ago.
So it was the day our God's Country came out. So
yeah.
So there was like this like instant hype, and we show up to Austin to play this little tiny club, and there was like a line around the block, and like a third of the people couldn't even get inside, and then we played with Train Dodge. And did Exhalids play that show? Do you remember?
I think maybe they did actually, and I think somebody from Easy Prey was there or something too.
Anyway, I'll just say there was just like a ton of gear and stuff, and we're just like cramped on this little stage, like you're playing an instrument like people and everything.
It was it was like insane.
It's like a contortionist act or something where you're just trying to like, oh, okay, this is what we got, huh?
Truly.
And those shows can be really fun too, but I always just feel like I'm ripping people off because I don't get to do the full, I don't get to move around that much. I'm just sitting there like kind of still trying to play.
Not collide with anybody on stage.
Yeah. Or hit anybody in the crowd too, like
I know.
stuff or anything.
Actual nightmare, yeah. But what I like about you guys is it's kind of like a get you a band that can do both, right? Because I've seen bands that slay it on like the basement circuit and like those kinds of things, and like put them on a big stage, and it's like, oh, some reason it doesn't work. And I've seen bands where it's like, oh, they're great, give them a big stage and they're awesome, but they can't scale it down and like have that same intensity move over. And I feel like I've been lucky enough to see you guys play a lot, and it doesn't matter where you're at. Like, I feel like you guys are very much yourselves, and you're very comfortable with what's happening, and that's something you would think would be more common.
I don't. It's weird for us because so here's like a thing, like a weird phenomenon with our band is that we started basically right before COVID happened. So.
Yeah.
And then,
that's right, because when we played with you, it was literally that was the last show we played before the COVID hit.
Yeah.
Although we played 2 ill-advised shows, we probably shouldn't have done that tour like 2 weeks later.
Well, we kind of did the same thing because we played. I think it was No Coast.
Yeah.
We played together. That
That's
was
right. Yeah.
February of 2020, and then a couple weeks later, we went on the road and played like 3 or 4 shows with Betrayal of Guilt, and then like no joke, we got home and like 3 days later, everything went down. But so what happened to us though is that so we were a young band. We had only literally played like 6 shows before.
Which I didn't know because you guys did not carry yourself that way. You guys carried yourself like a band that had been around for like years, and maybe that was just because everyone had played in bands before.
Well, thank you for that. It did not feel like it. It felt like we were really just trying to get our sea legs. But then what was crazy is like the band got kind of popular during all the lockdown stuff. So then when we got out of the lockdown and could play shows again. It was like we were playing into these like fairly big crowds and had barely played together as a band. You know, it's like we were going like I think we played a show in Chicago to like 400 people, like sold out show, and it was like our 7th or 8th show ever. And you know, so it's just kind of like you're really just figuring it out on the fly and like hoping nobody can tell that like how unpracticed you are. You know.
No, and it's interesting that when you think of the pandemic and COVID bans and whatnot, like it is wild that you guys struck a chord, right? During a very lonely time for people. And that's always something to be celebrated. Anything that like makes people, elevates people out of the like desperate, never-ending story, like eternal bog of torment with the horse that is everyday life. Like that's something to be celebrated. Artax, yeah, thank you.
Artax kills himself.
Dude, a generation of children, myself included, were completely traumatized by that great film.
I mean, I identify with that boy in that movie, reading the book.
Yeah,
very good movie.
Of which there is no sequel. But I think that it's worth noting that like your stuff did connect with people on a much larger level, to the point that I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, and it's I almost feel like it's not even a lottery, because a lottery implies that there's logic behind it, where it's just like it's like a meteor strike or something.
It's pure chaos. It's just pure chaotic luck, and that's what like it's funny because locally I've had some people come up to me and be like, hey, I'm starting a band, or I'm in a band and we want to take it serious and blah blah blah, and like what did you guys do, or how did you and I'm like, well, I'm happy to sit down and tell you all the stuff I know, but really what you have to understand is that it's like 110% luck, like getting lucky that the right dominoes fall down and people start paying attention to you and stuff. And that's not to discredit like our band being like good or anything like that, but it's like there's a million great bands that know. So the fact that people are paying attention to us, it's really just right place, right time.
Well, there's things you can do. Like you want to surround yourselves with the right people. Like I always am very, not that you need my approval, but impressed with like the bands you guys take out. I'm like, oh, awesome, very cool. And even when it's bands I don't know, I'm like, oh, I need to check that band out. I bet they're really good, because they're all like fellow travelers. Even if sound wise they're not coming, it doesn't sound exactly the same. They're coming at it from a similar perspective. So there's certain things that you can do, but again, like any expectation of anything of the reward beyond the art itself, you're fooling yourself.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
And that's that's the most important rule, is just like make sure you're doing what you want to do, and then if things go well for you, great, and if not, then you still did the thing that you want to do.
Right.
Yep, absolutely.
Which leads me to talk about y'all's tour coming up. I appreciate that you have different segments that have different support acts. Homies in Porcelain on some of those, which I love that band. They're fantastic.
XXhalants.
XXhalants, yeah. I couldn't show you because I've got a green screen, but there was a lot of guitar related physical humor that happened about like 5 feet that way, that some of which may have been captured on video. And you got Agriculture. as well, which is great. Nightosphere, which was awesome. Very, very excited to see them on there. Nerver, great. Like that's awesome. Train Dodge, I've known those guys for several millennia, it seems like. Amazing band.
That's the band that honestly we're most delighted to be able to take with us.
Absolutely.
I mean, first off, I've known them all for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's just kind of the Oklahoma pride, man. Like, we're so stoked to take them out. People are gonna like get their wigs knocked back by.
They're so good.
They're not prepared for how good they are live. You know.
When I met you guys, I was like, oh, there's another good band from Oklahoma, and I was thinking of Train Dodge.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's so awesome that they're gonna play at La Poisson Rouge in New York and the Sinclair in Boston with us. It's
Hell
like
yeah. That's great.
some of the more primo venues on the tour are gonna be Train Dodge support, which is just like, it's beautiful, you know. Like I love that.
Which is great because I played all the same dirtbag venues with those guys like over the years, and so it's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, well, us too.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's nice to see when a band is that good and perseveres that much to like be like, oh, cool, people get to engage with us on the level it probably should have always been on.
We'll talk about a band that has like the Compass or whatever and are doing their thing. I mean, it's clearly like such a labor of love for those guys, you know.
Yeah.
I just couldn't respect them more, and just real artists, man. Like, I'm just super stoked for people to see them. I mean, I'm stoked for like all the openers that we have. We take a lot of pride in who we choose to like bring with us on tour.
Yeah.
So it's not that like one band is better than another or whatever. They're all awesome, but it's just the local pride makes the Train Dodge thing kind of exciting for us.
I mean, that is a band. I probably said this when Jason was on, but like I saw them play and it was like literally just me and Roma 79, and that was it. Like there was no one else at that show, and despite my best effort, I was like, "Come out to the show." Nope, no one was. It wasn't happening. You know, the Neutron charm was not working that night, but it wasn't for lack of trying. And they always deliver. And so it's nice to I love that when you guys are picking the bands you're playing with, it's like not just fellow travelers, it's bands that like, oh yeah, y'all should know this, right? Like it's something like if you know, you're stoked. If not, you're gonna know.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way I see it too. Because I mean, not to get too deep into the weeds or anything, but it's like a lot of times when you're picking like opening acts. And you're dealing with like your booking agent and stuff, like they think of it in terms of like who's going to sell tickets and what's going to make sense. And so, you know, not that we get like pushback or anything, but like you can kind of tell that they're a little hesitant to have like unknowns and stuff. And we're like, no, the whole point is for them to be known. Like that's the intent. It's like, we're going to sell enough tickets, it'll be fine. Let's just bring people who deserve, you know, let's foster this community of good bands, you know?
And that's something that if bigger bands, like if Metallica did that consistently, which I guess they do it some, you know, like the world would be a much better place. Like that community of music would be more supported.
Well, the two good like arena bands in that regard have always been Nine Inch Nails and Tool. Have always picked like really good.
Tool I have at least 5 friend bands that have personally benefited from Tool just being like come out and rock with us, which is great.
Yeah. And I think that's, I
play the weird fairgrounds with us in the middle of nowhere, you know, which is what they do. But I mean, hey, it's still great.
An audience of people who may hate you, but still, at least you're getting in front of people. And
10% will like you, and then that's enough to sell out the club next time.
Exactly,
you know?
Exactly. So it's just really important to us. I mean, man, we really do put a lot of thought into that, and
it
it's
shows
because like you want your friends to be around too. You know, like being on the road can be hard. Like if you have cool people around, makes it way easier. So.
And it just I just think it's a cool vibe, and I think that it's not lost on me that you guys do that. Let's put it that way.
Oh,
not that, I mean, whatever, you can't put that on the shelf, but Conan Neutron approves. Great.
I'll take it. I like that.
So first of all, I love that you called it Cool World. By the way, love it, absolutely love it. Are we not spilling tea on the title at all? Because people can discover for themselves. But
we can get into it.
Okay. I mean, like, so it's a double entendre to a certain degree, right? Because of course I'm thinking of the fucking movie.
Yeah.
Which is just like, when I remember watching it, even at the time, I was like, I can't believe somebody made this. Like, this is insane. Like,
It's not really good. It's not a good.
It's not good. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Still good.
Yeah,
still good, but a very different kind of movie.
I don't know.
There's dissent in the band about the Roger Rabbit.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't love Roger Rabbit. I gotta say.
Oh, my man. I'm gonna have to end this interview. I'm sorry.
Well, it's been.
Have you watched it recently? Have you watched it recently?
Roger Rabbit. Have I watched it recently?
Yes, Roger Rabbit.
I watched it in my 30s.
Okay.
Which just ended. So
right.
I don't know what year of my 30s. I saw it in theaters. So I've seen it many times.
Yeah.
I saw it a couple years ago and enjoyed myself. It had been a long time since then. So I like it. It's got the noir thing. I also I love like Warner Brothers animation. Disney not so much, which is like I guess maybe the but there is, I don't know, they pay homage to Tex Avery.
I fucking hate the character Roger Rabbit. He's like terrible. Like one of the most annoying
that's what we call a first page problem. Yeah, that's not good, man. I can see where it's a problem
I hate
for
the
you.
baby who's like smoking a cigar and stuff. That shit sucks. I do not care for it. Whereas Cool World is like, I'm a gross cartoon, man, and stuff. And Cool World's a little more honest about what it is. And people, of course, people hating Cool World and loving Roger Rabbit makes me love Cool World more a little bit. Even if I don't want that to be the case, it is true for sure. Yeah.
I mean, it's so pure, unadulterated Ralph Bakshi, though. Like that. Like,
I think that's part of the problem, though, because I'm never a fan of any of his stuff. Like, honestly, it's just too. It's
really none of it.
It's generationally sleazy. Like all.
Oh yes, of course it is. Yeah,
I love it. I love a lot of his like good stuff for sure.
Not even like I don't know, like Wizards or like Fire and Ice or nothing.
American Pop
stuff like that is definitely way more in my vein. But I just always think of like Fritz the Cat. That's him, right? Like the movie Fritz.
Part
the Cat.
one is
it is definitely a movie, yes. But like, I mean, we see. Banking or Acid did one of them is The Hobbit, one is Lord of the Rings. I'm trying to remember which one it was.
Rankin and Bass did The Hobbit and Return of the King.
That's right.
And then Bakshi did Lord of the Rings, is what it's called, but it was
contracted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Man,
it's still good.
Still weird. Yeah.
It's just weird. It's sort of like you shouldn't try to do. It's like
Wizards is his best fantasy.
I like
movie,
Wizards. Yeah, I agree with you.
Fire and Ice is cool too, though.
I like Fire and Ice. This has really turned into a Bakshi podcast, hasn't it? But it's also one of those things that like I fully get it when people are not down with it too, where it's like, all right, I get it. Totally. And some of it, especially humor that was meant to at the time. All right, like you know what? I'm just gonna say it, Coonskin, right? Okay.
Oh, I was like, I know we're missing a classic one.
A classic.
Coonskin. Maybe that's like when he takes off as an artist for sure.
Well, and it's a satire of like blaxploitation, right? But it doesn't come off that way if like now. Like this comes off as like, oh, is this just deeply problematic or like what's going on? It's it's kind of like doing a thing and like
it's a satire of The Godfather as well.
That too, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Again, it just comes down to like when I say generationally sleazy, that's just kind of what I mean. Just sort of like this, I don't know, like pilled out, like quaaluded out 70s worit and stuff, which is cool from a distance, but I can't live in that world too long, like.
Sure.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, it's I get it. Anyway, Cool World. Needlessly horny, just like sleazy as hell.
Cool World got taken away out of his control. He wanted that to be an R-rated like horror movie. I have no idea what his original idea for Cool World was, but it wasn't supposed to be PG-13.
I mean, people forget too. Like, I mean, like that's you had a Gabriel Byrne in there, like Brad Pitt. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was set up to be like, oh, this is cool.
Melanie Griffith.
That's right. Yeah. Yes, very much so. Yes.
Wait, is it?
No, it's Kim. Is it Kim? Is Melanie Griffith or Kim Basinger?
It's not Melanie Griffith. It's Kim Basinger. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I'm smoking dust. Melanie Griffith didn't return as Vicky Vale, and Batman Returns instead was Holly Hollywood. Is
Yeah,
that her name? Yeah.
The character is definitely Hollywood. Would. Yes.
Hey, when I was a kid, I was way more into Hollywood than Jessica Rabbit. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. Fair. I mean,
But also,
I celebrate both. I don't know.
Cool World is way more honest about. Like, Cool World is way more about truly, literally about men, gross men who want to fuck cartoons. You know, like that is essentially what it's about.
Which is very prescient for our time.
Agreed. Yeah. And Roger Rabbit feels antiquated to me, and not. It doesn't feel like it's saying anything about today necessarily. But Cool World is about a violent misogynist who disappears into a world of his own creation.
Yeah.
And fucks a cartoon.
Which,
yeah.
Ralph Bakshi, man, that's it's hashtag goals for that guy, I guess. I don't know.
Not that it's good. I'm just saying, you know.
That's what it is. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
interesting work, you know, like flawed but interesting, but also just like a very funny pull too, you know, like it just who was thinking about Cool World up until recently, you know?
Yeah.
I was flabbergasted. I was like, they named the album Cool World? Oh my God. Because I remember, man, I was in high school, I think, when that came out, if I remember correctly, and like it was like, oh, that looks awesome, you know. And
I was dying to see it at the time.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I rented it the minute it came out.
As soon as it came on VHS,
I was like, this is weird, you know. But like,
yeah, it was sort of like, wow, that was strangely uncomfortable.
Yeah,
like I didn't.
I did feel. I was like, oh no, am I gonna get in trouble for watching this? Like, what is this rated? It's like, yeah, I was like 8 or something when that came out, I think.
Because for me it was like, oh, is this gonna be like heavy metal where there's just like just an abundance of breasts for like no reason, like just around? Like, I don't know, it seems like it would be, and it's like, kinda.
I watched that for the first time ever pretty recently, actually, and that's kind of that's sort of like the tuned in the right amount of sleaze for me.
Yeah,
where I was like having a good time the whole time.
Heavy metal kind of rocks. I will
metal.
give it up for heavy metal. Yeah, there's obviously some of the vignettes are better than others.
Sure.
But I think they slot very nicely together as an anthology, and I think it's a good culmination of what they were trying to do, which is like, let's represent this, not just magazine, but this culture in a visual form. Great usage of music. Goddamn Devo's on that soundtrack, right? Like, you're gonna get mad at that? No, man, come on. Yeah. The Rocknar, whatever it was, like that green thing, you know, I was like, all right, that's a fine enough MacGuffin. Why not? Sure.
Yeah. No, I love that movie. That's like a 5-star movie in my opinion. I watch that probably every year. Honestly, I really like heavy metal.
Maybe I should just watch it again. I really had a good time watching it.
It's still, I mean, I saw it a couple years ago, and I was like, God, that was like actually a little better than I remembered.
Aging like fine wine.
Yeah,
exactly. It's like I really love the graphic violence and sexuality even more this time. You know? No, but there's something to be said for if that's the thing you're in the mood for, right? I mean, like, look, I'll throw in Predator any day, anywhere. I'm like, great, let's do it.
Well, I mean, again, not to keep defending Roger Rabbit or whatever, but that's what I like, because it is obviously like a love letter to
classic noir,
like noir and like horror fiction and stuff, and like, again, has. Not that Roger Rabbit has this, but the stuff it's referencing has plenty of, you know, needless sex and violence, and in the best ways, you know.
Well, and the thing I like about it, sorry about the Roger Rabbit discourse, Raygun, but the thing I like about it too is it's you're led to believe from first watch that Jessica Rabbit's is the gold digger, right? It's like, no, she honestly loves him. This idiot, this absolute idiot of a character, like, they're deeply in love, and it's like, you can talk all about like the mechanics of how that would even work. I don't know. Like, that's not for me to say, but I think there's something kind of sweet about that, and I think it works as a, I guess it'd have to be a neo-noir, right? But like, you know,
my friend was telling me that it's a reworked Chinatown sequel, an unused Chinatown sequel. That's
really?
Reworked. Yeah.
Like post.
I did not look into that, but somebody that's pretty reputable told me that, so I was like, interesting.
Like post to Jake's. When did that come out?
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, it would have been the third Chinatown movie.
Oh my God. breaking news on this show.
Well,
Wow. Okay.
insane, but like the more I think about it, yeah, that makes
It
total
totally. I mean, think about the modus operandi, right? Like the whole I mean, actually, oh Christ, you know what? Like that. I forgot. I wrote a song inspired by Who Framed Roger Rabbit. but I was like, I'll never cop to this unless somebody mentions it to me, and nobody ever has. But it's about the founding of the interstate highway system, and like how it's basically like a systemically racist and classist enterprise.
yes.
Oh yes, thank you. but it's just because like I thought I was like, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I was like, oh yeah, that is interesting to think about. So again, I did my own research on that and I learned something. Thank you. But this isn't. But you didn't call the record "Who Framed Chat Pile." You called it.
It would have been funny if we called the album "Who Framed Roger Rabbit." Hilarious.
Honestly, a flex. I'm not gonna lie.
It's too late to change it. We have a week.
Yeah.
But Cool World's like, I think it's like weirdly because it was culturally ubiquitous at the time, and then it was like redacted to the same black site that like Beau Was Afraid ended up going off to, where it's like I swear I saw it. Like I don't know, nobody seems to claim existence of this film anymore. But it also is just it's first of all there's a good onomatopoeia to it. Cool World, right? Like it's kind of like that's a nice succinct title, and it's also. Like people can read into whatever I want. I mean, we all live in this same earth that we're on, which is frequently disappointing, absurd, and
not
on fire.
Cool. Yeah.
Not cool at all.
It's very deliberate on our part for that. And then of course, there's sort of light, ecological disaster referencing.
Yeah, right.
As well, so it kind of goes a bunch of ways. More than anything, we just kind of thought it was funny. But it is. I mean, it does have those other elements to it as well.
Yeah, and Zach in the comments saying "Fantastic Planet." It would be in the same bookcase as for Fantastic Planet, sure. But I think that we all live in the same world, right? And there's a bleak dealing with the apocalypse kind of reality that all this art exists in. And, it's not the 1950s. It's not, it's not the 1980s, Morning in America. None of that stuff's happening. We're living in the world that we're existing in right now. And so I like that you guys don't pedantically lean into that in a way that's just like, okay, we get it. Everything's a bummer. We understand. Yes. But like, it's also like not ignoring those kinds of topics as well, because I think that there seems to be like a at least amongst whatever is left of the monoculture acts that have some cachet within there to just kind of not engage, and it's disingenuous, frankly. And which is, again, isn't to say that I want everything to be a Michael Moore movie. You know what I mean? Like it's like it's okay to have fun. It's okay to laugh. It's okay to enjoy things. But I think you guys write a good line with that. And it works, is what I'm trying to say. And I think that that's harder to do sometimes. Not that it's hard to do, but it's harder for people to take the jump to do, if that makes sense. And I think that, like, again, without getting like into the banal minutia necessarily of like the lyrics or like explicitly laying it on the table, I think that there's a lot of American Horror Story style darkness that's happening within here, but it's like also kind of like a mirror to like this aspect of humanity and culture, and it fits the motif of the band. It fits the motif of what people thus far have engaged with you guys, and it seems very honest in its way. And I think that's I don't know. I guess I don't have a question with that. It's more of a statement. But I again, going back to like you guys have your own compass. You're following it very, very, very well. But there is pushing on this out to different stuff. And I think that's kind of cool. And I think that's necessary. So it's nice to hear that. How much of that is intentional and how much of just like this is just what we're doing?
Well, it's both, I guess. It is. What we're doing is being intentional, I guess, like in terms of like doing a song like Why or something like that, it's like,
yeah,
I feel like I want every band, I'm sure I said this on the last time we were on here, so I'll update this. So a song like Shame or something like that from the new album.
Yeah.
which people will hear of it next week.
Right.
It's like every band should have songs about what's happening in the world now. Maybe even just if every band had one song that was political about the environment or whatever, the world would be a much richer place, in my opinion. But most bands don't fucking have the stones to do it, I guess. I don't know why they don't. It's crazy that
it's weird, right?
low amount of bands and artists that are doing anything that's related to like Palestine or anything. Macklemore is like our guy, which is so sad, you know. I mean, cheers to Macklemore.
Yeah.
Who I don't like as
no,
artist,
me either. But respect.
But cheers to him, respect to him, and cheers to everyone fucking else, you know. So
I think they're. I don't know if it's fair to say that like most bands aren't doing something political, because I do think, especially like in our world, I think that there's a lot of political like elements to the music. I don't know if they wear it on their sleeves as much as maybe like we do, but I mean, you know, I don't know. I just want to clarify that I think it's not like nobody's talking about this stuff, but
I don't mean nobody.
But it's not common.
Yeah,
and that's
especially with the bigger bands. Bands that are above us.
Yeah.
I don't really mean. I mean, people like at our level are doing things, you know, and saying stuff, but like people even just a little bit above us, you know.
No, totally.
Fucking, I don't know.
And it's weird too, why people, you know, because it's like literally everybody is feeling the clamps of whatever's happening right now. I mean, whether you're the like crazy MAGA freak or whatever, it's like it doesn't matter like what your politics are. Everybody at least agrees that things are fucked up,
totally lame, and really bad. Yeah.
So you would think it would be a little bit more like it would be showing more in the culture, like musically or whatever. But yeah, it seems to be maybe like people are regressing to escapism, is maybe. You know?
Yeah, everyone's just kind of whistling past the graveyard, trying to be like, "Hey, everybody, let's have the like whatever the band playing on the Titanic." Okay, great.
Yeah. Well, and I don't, to be honest, I don't even know if there's anything that wrong with it, because maybe
it's fine.
Maybe without that, things would be worse. I don't know. I don't have an answer. I don't even know what I believe really, but I understand maybe why people wouldn't want to engage with anything political, since everything else in our lives is so highly politicized.
And there's also like, what if it's done but done poorly?
Yeah, well, there's the other thing too. You know, is that
you gotta stick your. You know, if you're an artist, you gotta stick your neck out and do something. I mean, don't put something you don't like out.
Yeah. I mean,
as long as like you're proud of it. I mean, you're gonna fail. People fail. I fail. Everybody fails. So
yes, and I think that that's important, and I think that we live in a culture that does not like think about the idea of a band and music, right? Like we're still all very poisoned by the Cameron Crowe movie.
Almost famous?
Almost famous, yeah. Like, where it's like, that's the only model. I'm like, no, there's plenty of models. And there's plenty of people that aren't just temporarily embarrassed superstars as well. And it's not embarrassing to just, like, play to your audience and, like, do something true and, like, something that has deeper connection to a smaller amount of people, you know? Like, like there's not just the one model. And it's weird to me, like, okay, stand-up comedy. It's okay. It's okay to be, like, a working stand-up comic. But being a working band, oh no, that's what is that? There's no methodology for that. It's just a weird monoculture kind of leftover artifact that I've never quite been able to understand. I mean, do we need like a really poorly written TV show or something to like to show people like what this is like? Because it's something that obviously
ruin it for everybody. Because that's what happened to stand up. Is like all of a sudden the world of stand up got really exposed in the pop culture, and now stand up couldn't be any less cool right now. And I think it has everything. I think you can blame sort of like the mechanics of it being exposed in the pop culture, you know. So it might actually be to our benefit to
it's a saving grace.
Have a little mystery with what it's like to be a middle level band or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't think of too many movies that are just about how fun it is to be in a band, and that's all, without having some weird other
Green Room or
aspect.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, or The Death of Dick Long is another one
Yeah,
that adds this weird element. Ricky and the Flash is the only movie I can think of that comes to mind. Truly one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Not great. Not great.
Jonathan Demme's final film, starring Meryl Streep and Rick Springfield.
Yeah, that was the part where I was like, what?
It's like a terrible movie, but the point of that is
trash from the trash can. It's horrible.
It's fun to play music and just do it because I don't know, like it does have kind of a good message if it's like it's the corniest, worst movie you've ever seen in your life, you know. But
I mean, I guess you get a little bit of a School of Rock.
Yeah, School of Rock.
School of Rock is That's the best. That's the best. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about as good as I think, because it's definitely like, you know, as cheeseball of a dude as Jack Black can be. Like, I think that's, you know, that delivers a lot of important messages in a interesting and cool way. Right?
That movie's great.
I'm a big School of Rock man. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. School of Rock, everybody. And Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Sneaking that one in for past Raygun. So what do you think as far as this record, again, I think it's right down the line for what you guys do. Like, again, there's no third wave ska. There's no big band revival songs that are on here. Like when I'm like listening to the record, it flows very nicely. I'm thinking of I really liked on Tape, for instance, like all the stuff that Luther was doing with on the guitar, where it's like that's kind of like syncopated sort of things. Like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's like a real neat hook. It's like a hook that you didn't know you needed until it was actually just happening, and it's like it's very subtle and with it. So with this record, how do you feel as a record, right? Like, you know, there's always any record's gonna have a beginning, middle, and an end that most people are gonna ignore and listen to whatever songs they want to in whatever order they want to. But you're telling a story to a certain degree. So when it comes to sequencing and putting everything together and putting like the songs next to each other, you know, did you always know I Am Dog Now is going to be the first song? Is it something that you kind of internally debated? Was there like much consultation on the Senate floor? Like what's happening?
I think like with us, like in both albums, it's like we know what the first song is, like when it happens. Like when you hear it, you're like, okay, this is going to launch things off, and then everything you sequence kind of after that. And I think for us, like we definitely knew that Dog would be the first song, and then like Camcorder would be the halfway point. And then there was a little debate about like what would end the record, but not much. I mean, it really, honestly, the sequencing on this record went really quickly, right? Would you agree, Ray?
I would, yeah. Only at the kind of the last minute, I realized we'd have like almost a perfect thematic mirror from side A and side B if we switched New World and Mask, and that's the only.
Oh, that's killer.
I think the only input I really even like, because most of everybody was just falling into the album fell together.
It just sort of made sense, like really on its own. There wasn't. I mean, I think there was way more debate with God's Country. Not that there was a ton of it, but there was more of it with God's Country than this one. This one just kind of like really made sense. And credit to Luther Manhole, because I think he made the first pass on like what the track order should be. And the only thing we really changed was what Ray just said, where we switched Mask. And,
that's right.
Just to get that symmetry.
Yeah.
That symmetry. Well, and I think we probably, I could, it may as well have been 100,000 years ago last time you guys were on. Sorry. But to me, like, Grimace smoking weed clearly was like, that's going to end the record. What the hell? Like, what happens after that? Nothing. Everyone go home. You know? It's like, that's it. It's over, Johnny. You know, like, you don't put anything after that.
So I can't remember what it was. We had another song that we were thinking about making the last one, but there's just something about
that would have been a terrible idea.
Well, for the new album.
Okay.
Because No Way Out ends it right now, and I don't even remember what it was, but something about No Way Out just has this like very finality to it, like the way and stuff. So we're like, it makes sense that this is like the last song, you know. But yeah, it really just kind of fell together, like it just really natural process on that one. Like it helps to have those anchor songs kind of guide what you're doing.
Well, I like it's so you said something so smart, which is that you knew how you were going to begin it and you knew where the midpoint was.
Yeah,
and I feel like it's almost like screenwriting. Yeah, right? You know, where it's like you could like you hit like certain beats of the story, and you can kind of, all right, well, there's something's going to happen in between here, and we don't quite know what that's going to be. And that's how I think about it too. Sometimes there's records I love where I'm like, that record rules, and that sequencing is wrong. That sequencing is jacked up, and it makes that record vastly inferior to what it actually is.
Sometimes I'm just like, delete. I look at the length of the record. I'm like, delete.
Start deleting.
Delete this song. Delete this one.
Yeah, you're channeling Lars's dad.
I am firmly short album, pro short album. I think even both of our albums are 45 minutes long. I'd be happy if they were like 35 minutes long.
I'm with you.
I kind of feel like that's actually the sweetest spot for like a record length, you know?
So that said, there is pour a little out for the longer songs too, because that is something where there's different ways that people engage with the music. There's engaging with music as like you're hearing it for the first time. There's engaging music with like passing familiarity, and there's deep familiarity as well. So it's something where if you're going to give something to the listeners that, oh, here's something for you to like kind of pay attention to and vibe with, like the seventh time you hear this record versus the first time. I'm always a fan of doing that. But that said, like, look, you'll go broke trying to like cater to my sensibilities. so I take of that what you will. But I like it. Like I think that because it's something that it'll keep you coming back to it. That said, so all right. So all that said, remember the '90s? Like I was talking.
I do remember the '90s.
remember the '90s, everybody. So this was a hot topic in the tour van. Actually, on the tour down to No Coast where we first met you guys, that we were talking about Soundgarden, a band that I like quite a bit. And we were talking about how the 90s record and like the CD, it is the CD format, right? Mm-hmm. Super Unknown, the record, is so long. It is
too fucking long, dude.
70 minutes.
That's the problem. I'm so glad this is coming up. Thank you. Finally, a soapbox for me.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Go off, King. Yeah, hit it.
That is look, I am a product of the 90s, obviously, if you've ever heard Chat Pile or whatever, but the problem with that era is, especially like the major label records, for whatever reason, they're like, we have 79 minutes and we're going to fill every goddamn
exactly.
and
we'll fill the rest of the end of it will be silence, and it'll be a hidden track at the end, you know,
some goofball bullshit at the end of it.
Literally a full disc.
Yeah. But Soundgarden might be one of the worst offenders. Like truly, there's like
peace and love them, but yes,
it's like just put out a couple EPs or something.
Put out an amazing 3 EPs with that record.
We do not need we don't need all this like I feel there's maybe like too harsh of a term, but just stuff like why are we padding out what could be like really like a concentrated kick-ass 40-minute record or whatever.
Could have been one of the best records of that decade.
Yeah.
Right? And so my supposition was like, no, this record's better if you skip Spoon Man, if you skip Black Hole Sun, if you skip like all the popular songs, the record's better because it's shorter. But also, like you get more of a focus on things like 4th of July and Day I Tried to Live. I like that one, so I love
Limo Wreck is a favorite.
Limo Wreck's so good, yeah. And I understand it was just it was different times, man. But like it was like, no, you don't have to fill every available like second of space. I'm sorry.
The only person I give an exception to is Smashing Pumpkins, because
I was just thinking that.
I think Billy Corgan in his prime was like such a prolific writer and like such a good one at that he deserves to like fill up space. And like it's like, look, I know this is controversial because obviously a lot of people don't like that band, but I'm a major defender, and I will say that like what's cool about them is like, no, like take Melancholy, Infinite Sadness. It's a 2 double disc CD album where they use up all the space on the CD, but then there's like maybe 4 albums worth of B-sides that are just as good, literally, that they didn't use. It's incredible.
They did that Alice Cooper band song Clones that sounds like a cross between the Cars and Gary Newman.
Yeah.
And I was mad when I found that out because I got that 7-inch like whatever, like was in high school. And I was like, this song is so good. This would be such a good song to cover. And it's like, oh, like the Smashing Pumpkins cover? I'm like, what? And then I was like, wah, wah, wah.
I
And it
need
is a great
someone
song,
to explain to me the Gen X mindset, though, of like hating Billy Corgan so much. Like, I understand.
I've
There's-
always fucking hated him. That's
There
it.
just
End of
seems to be
statement.
this like he's not authentic enough, or like he embraced.
No, I think he's very authentic. I just fucking hate him.
People, it's a thing.
Disagree.
Yeah, I had to major
fine.
disagree too, and that like
Looks good on you. Yeah.
JY Brothers stand strong.
For
The
me,
first 5 Pumpkins albums are good. Damn
Yeah,
it.
I respect his songwriting. I think that's fairly unimpeachable. I actually like his guitar playing a lot.
Yeah,
but maybe it started with the voice. I don't know. Like I've never cared for it, and I just have never been a fan. I don't know. Like, and it didn't used to be a thing, except the fact that it used to be an impossible opinion to dislike the Smashing Pumpkins, because that became a moratorium. Well, Gish though, and blah blah, and then it became a conversation about Smashing Pumpkins, where I'm like, wow, I'm actually in hell now because I didn't want to have this conversation. But then it's also like, who gives a shit? It's okay to like different things.
Oh, no.
You know,
that goes without saying. But
I also think he's an ass as a person. And honestly, like, I mean, I'm buddies with Paho, and like his Swan experience was not great. Let's put it that way.
I'm positive. But see, that's
so that like cemented. Oh, good, he's an asshole. Okay, good. And Rick Valentin from Post Children just told me
something
stories,
that drives me crazy. There's like an opinion that I see from time to time that like Swan is some type of punchline. I'm like, Swan was a fucking amazing band, dude.
I know.
Like,
I'm like, where is that album? You can't
I wish that
find
he had let
anywhere.
those dudes play on it, because it would have been
Man,
great.
it's incredible. Yeah.
I saw them live, like on that tour where Paho and Matt Sweeney would have been on that and stuff. And it was like, I'm not joking at all, one of the best rock shit, like just rock and roll concerts I have ever seen. Like talk about like the energy and the sort of just like electricity happening. Like it's incredible.
I was like, oh, respect. Like Billy's doing like, he's like letting go of the controls for like a quarter second to like allow something cool to happen. And then like that album came out, I'm like, never mind. And he's an ass. He was an ass to my friend too. So
sure. Well, and that's, I mean, like kind of famously, he's like a megalomaniac and stuff. But to me, I mean, granted, my friends don't have to deal with him. I don't have to deal with them. But like as an outsider looking in,
just engaging with the art, right?
It's part of but here's
wait till you hear about Roman Polanski.
The twist I have is that him being an asshole makes the lore of it more exciting to me. Like I like that he's this larger than life personality who's difficult, and that people have like these strong feelings on. It adds to the sort of like lore of like what he was doing at the time. You know, I don't know. It's
okay.
He's
I can buy that. Yeah.
He's a very fascinating character. Now, if my buddy was in a band with him, and then it'd be a little bit different, But yeah.
And if he was committing crimes like Roman Polanski did, then I would maybe be like, I don't know.
Miss me with that. Yeah. Yeah. To be clear, to my knowledge, Billy Corgan has committed no crimes, not of a musical nature.
Yeah.
His biggest crime is just being,
he's just like a dick.
Yeah.
He should just get the fuck away from being on the internet.
Here's the deal. I love the Pumpkins, Pisces Iscariot, the first 5 albums, and the Swan album are all great to me. Mm-hmm. And then everything else for 25 years has been horrible.
Yes, just trash. Yeah, exactly.
And all my favorite bands from the 90s, which are pretty much like Pumpkins, Weezer, and Oasis, have all done nothing but horrible music since the year 2001.
Weezer has been bad for far longer than they were good.
Oh yeah, that's the story of most.
Well, all those bands have.
Yeah,
all of them. They have more bad albums than good ones.
Yeah.
But with Weezer, to me, like Rivers Cuomo's thing of like, I'm gonna analyze like why this is a popular song, and like I'm going to scientist brain.
I love that about him. I mean, he's wrong, and it's to his detriment. But I do love that he's insane.
I do.
I love Weezer. I mean, I find them very fascinating. And
I saw them on that. Great. I saw them on that first tour, pre-Green Album, way pre-Green Album. It was like when they came back, like, I don't know, I guess we're gonna play some shows, and I was like, oh my god, I can't fucking believe this. This is so great, because I came in too late to the game for the Blue Album and Pinkerton, but I was like, God, these records are awesome, and it was amazing. It was great. And then like I remember to this day, we were on tour. I went to Reckless Records in Chicago. I was like, fuck yeah, there's a new Weezer album. Holy shit, I'm buying this right now. sound unheard, and I put it in, and I mean, you could see like my just like my smile just.
Was it the Green Album?
It was the Green Album.
I'll tell you what, the Green Album's aged like fine wine.
Maybe, but at the time, it was like somebody had. It hit the same as the Phantom Menace, is what I will say.
Yeah,
I feel that.
Yeah, I mean, like whatever. Maybe it's great. I'll never know. I'm never going to listen to it again.
I think I'm
a busy man.
Big 90s.
It's 29 minutes, so.
Respect. Yeah.
Yeah. The only big 90s like rock star mega.
Remember Hurley? They did a record that had the dude from like Lost. It's like, what are you fucking doing? What are you guys up to? Jesus Christ. Sorry, go ahead, Stin.
Well, I was just gonna say the only like 90s superstar that I can think of that has survived unscathed and is still respectable and making art that could be considered good is Trent Reznor. Can you think of anybody else? Bjork.
Yeah, Bjork's came way clean for
I'm
sure.
not,
PJ,
I'm not
like
listening to what Bjork's doing, but I'm sure it's good, and I know people don't like disrespect what she's doing now. You know?
There's a bunch of PJ Harvey records that can miss me, frankly, but like she's never done anything embarrassing.
Yeah, she's never embarrassed herself.
It's like that's boring. That sounds like NPR, but it's not for me. But respect.
The last PJ Harvey album I heard was Her, which is probably 20 years old this year.
Yeah.
But PJ, I almost say, is like maybe under the threshold of superstardom. You know, I'm kind of thinking like
fair,
like kind of the more like arena type bands. You know, because there's definitely like tons of like successful '90s artists. You know, like Sonic Youth were good till the end. You know, more or less. You know, the band, but like I'm thinking more like
Pearl Jam or something.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess Pearl Jam's never like.
It's fine. It's like whatever. They decided to be Crazy Horse at one point. Good for them.
I think their final interesting album is Binaural in 2004.
Is that the one with the Nebula?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah.
That's like Chad Blake production. I don't know. I just remember thinking that had some good songs on it. And Luther Manhole actually surprised us all. Or maybe just I'll speak for myself, but he listened to all the Pearl Jam albums kind of recently, and he was like,
really?
I like Pearl Jam, which I was like, that rocks, dude. I do too. Yeah.
Very shocking thing to discover.
So I'm no narc, but I will say that somebody that is a friend of the show in a band that everyone who listens to this show likes has told me from a firsthand account that they are the best dudes, like the best dudes ever, and that live it's like you couldn't pay me to listen to the records, but they bring it live. I'm like,
I believe that. I feel like if you can keep a band together like that for so long, you have to have like at least some
something be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The band.
You know what, man? I'll lay it on the line right now. Pearl Jam, Conan, Neutron, and the Secret Friends. Let's go.
Yeah,
let's do a show together. Chat pile too. Yeah.
Dude, if Pearl Jam was like Chat Pile, come open for us, I would be like, yes, sir, Mr. Better. I would be there.
When shall we be there? Yeah. No, that would be awesome. Yeah. Fuck yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You salute and you say what time, where, what time and where, right? But I like that you guys are coming because from that perspective of. Like, I've been wrong. I've been cynical about things that have been wrong before. And I'm like, wow, I was being a total dick. Why was I being such a dick about this? And then I'm being like, okay, what do I do with this information? Okay, I can move on with it and like reconcile the fact that, okay, I was wrong about this and I'm going to move on. Or I can like stay like, no, I was right. And, you know, these are all the reasons. And it's just like, what's the fucking point, man? This world that we live in. Like, I mean... The things I used to get mad about, I'm like, I can't believe I was mad about that.
It's just part of getting older, man. I don't feel strongly about music, like especially like negativity anyway. It's like I never. Right. It's like it's so rare that I hear something where it just makes me mad. You know, which is very common occurrence when I was a young man.
Oh, weekly. Are you kidding me?
Now I'm just like, you know what? Everything has value to some extent. Like, you know, it's not for me or whatever. It's just kind of my approach. Or it's like. Maybe this sounds terrible to my ears, but at least it's fascinating. Like the fact that it can.
There's something interesting about it.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
Yeah, like I mean, like look, like that. One time I was hanging out with you guys. The subject of the Strokes came up with, and like, by the way, which was the Answer albums, right? Of, yeah, this is it. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. Great. That would be an amazing Answer album. But like things that I had strong. I was like, I spent so much energy thinking about that. I'm like, why was I mad about that? Like, this is fine.
Well, the other thing too is like, so you have no excuse to be mad about music now because like you have the freedom to listen to whatever you want. It's not like
it's not being forced on you. Nothing is forced on you.
Like
ever.
maybe we had an excuse to be mad about stuff because it was sort of just forced on you, and it was like the only thing available, at least in like a kind of mainstream capacity. Yeah. And now it's like literally I can choose whatever I want at any second of the day. So why would I be mad about a band sucking? It's like I don't have to listen to it.
I feel so bad for my bandmates and Replicator having to listen to me rant about James. Which was like, and I was like, why was I so? I used to get so that song made me like turn red with rage, and I don't even understand why anymore. I'm like I'm a different person.
Goofy. I get it. When you're a younger man, that kind of music. Like a song, I'll just try to relate to you here, Conan.
Thank you, appreciate it.
But the song that's like, I am barely breathing. Do you remember that song?
Yeah.
that used to raise my ire like
fucking annoying.
So high.
Yeah.
I still think about it, but it's it's like a joke when I want to just be irritated to my girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
Sing I am barely breathing.
But it's so because it's like, how did I expend energy towards this? Like, how did I do it? Because it doesn't. It seems like
you got that hate, you got that anger. Just kind of burns away. I mean, not that I don't have anger and stuff, but
it's about stuff that matters.
I focus my anger at things that matter. I try to. I mean, we're all human. You're still gonna every now and then get mad about something, like a movie or whatever.
Look, don't talk to me about long legs. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean, me
fucking
too.
Hated
dude.
that shit. I was like,
I went on.
Yeah,
I didn't love it either.
Not great.
See, movies, I feel like you can be mad about because you're forced to sit in a theater for an hour and a half and watch it.
Oh man,
oftentimes way more than an hour and a half.
I want to build that Osgood Perkins motherfucker for my wasted time. That's all I gotta say about it.
Well, he's fooled me 3 times. That's like totally shame on me.
And everyone's like 5 stars on Letterboxd. I'm like, I'm sorry, did we see the same goddamn film? Because that thing was a piece of crap. I'm sorry.
I thought it was like, I was like, okay, this could be
I was
good.
ready to love it.
And so Nick Cage is like on screen, and it's like, oh no. What?
I love Alicia Witt.
It's too
crazy. Think Micah Monroe is underrated as an actress.
She's
I was
fine
like,
in the movie, yeah.
I was set up to love it, and I was like, this. It's like this bed is on fire with passion and love. It was the same. It was like I was 20 years old again.
Sure, yeah. It was disappointing. The most disappointing movie of the summer for me, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. But anyway,
Alien Romulus maybe bummed me out more, even just because I had faith in Fetty to take me to
that should have been better. That should have been better. I agree.
There was just cast issues. There's a lot of issues like ground level that make it kind of unfixable without changing fundamental, huge things about it. But you could have done it if it was like people who were in their 30s and stuff.
Why did everybody in that ship look like they're 12? Am I getting old?
It was weird. It's like because minors die early. It's like, well, pick haggard looking.
Yeah, these are junior high schoolers. I'm sorry, I can't respect
everybody
them.
Was like, very like cute, and it was weird.
Yeah.
And
not very dirty.
I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole.
Anyway, whatever. Yeah, that's a different podcast. Yeah, exactly. No, it's like, I'm sorry, aren't you on a mining college? Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
Cool World is a record by the band Chat Pile. Have you guys heard of this? So, you guys are hitting it. You're doing it. You got a bunch of tour dates coming up with a bunch of fantastic bands all through November. And then you got a bunch of stuff coming up in next year already, too. Like you got like February and March kind of planned out as well. That's awesome. Couldn't be more excited for you guys. And I think a couple of those places, West Coast at least, it's mostly been like festivals that you guys have played. Like you haven't really played like a proper, quote unquote, proper show. Maybe.
Well, we kind
He
of
said authoritatively.
we hadn't played LA properly like ever because we've done like basically have always done festivals, but this time we were able to play like an actual like headline club show when we played Sound and Fury Fest. So technically we've gotten that out of the way. I think we've never been to San Diego before, and we're hitting that. And actually, it is the one that is selling the fastest. So if you're hearing this, you might, and you live in San Diego, you might want to jump on that. So.
Just played San Diego for the first time in over 10 years. And I forgot, first of all, how great that city is. And secondly, how many people I know there. But that should be awesome. Soda Bar, right? That's a...
yes.
Yeah, that's a good spot.
We're playing in Pomona, California.
You know what? I fucking love the Glass House, right? I played there with big business. It's
they're right by San Dimas, so gonna be a lot of
San Dimas High School football rules.
Yeah, exactly. I just rewatched Bill and Ted. I love that movie. I'm going to talk a lot about Bill and Ted at that show.
And I'm so excited you guys are playing Great American Music Hall, which is probably one of my favorite venues. In this entire country.
We had such a good time the last time.
Love that place.
So cool.
It's so good. And there's a couple Canadian dates, right? I think you've been Calgary and Edmonton.
Calgary and Edmonton, which we've never been to before either. And God bless the people of those cities. We are driving a very far distance to get there.
Yeah, I was gonna say Alberta.
So come out and show us some love, please.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. It's a great run of dates. I think this is a cool. People have to just take my word for it. Of course, I'm an unimpeachable source, so they should. But I think the record's great. I mean, like if you like Chat Pile, you will like this record. I guarantee you. And,
that's how we feel too.
Yeah, I mean, like there's worse things in life, right? Jesus Christ. So anything else on deck that we haven't gone over? Any more Roger Rabbit discourse?
I don't think so. I think that covers it. One thing I'll just give you the exclusive here is that we will be touring Europe in April and like the latter half of April and the first half of May. So
that's great.
So that'll be announced here in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to have a cool guest on that run.
Have you haven't actually done a tour?
No, we've done
just like one-off kind of things, yeah.
And then we've done like some stuff in the UK, which we'll be back in the UK this time around as well. But we've never been to like mainland Europe ever to just play headline shows. So
that's
Prince Charles Cinema, we're coming for you.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I need to reach out to them. So thank you. Mental note.
Note to self. Note to self. No, that's great. I love to see you guys doing it, and. I think you're playing Chicago on election night. If
yes, we are. So that'll be an interesting.
And I live in a swing state, so we'll see about that. But that is with Porcelain, and I love them folks. So It's we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see where the day takes us. that 3 hours round trip of driving would be worth it.
Yeah, during what could be the saddest day of your life.
Exactly. It's like I still remember. I went down and recorded Protons and Electrons the day after the election, but when Trumpy went in, and like I could not have felt like a bigger just heel. was like, oh yeah. All right, I'll have to record a record now. And then it was like, yeah, sorry about this, everything that is.
Yeah, we were I was at a show that night, I remember, and the mood of during the event just kind of started tanking, and then God bless the band that had the headline that night.
Yeah, that is it. That is like, talk about like getting it to do your show in a ditch. It's like that's about as bad as it's gonna get, man.
Well, hey, we may have to do it ourselves, so we'll see.
Well, we'll see. I guess we'll see how the results go. Maybe I'll be sitting there like looking at my watch.
Hey,
like, all right, how are we doing?
No matter who wins, we all lose. So
Yeah, no shit. The speech is the same on my end. If I'm gonna say anything about it,
Word. No, that's real. That's real. Stin, Raygun, I love having you guys on. Been far too long. A little easier with you two dudes than it is with the whole crew. But really appreciate everything you do. Appreciate everything you bring to this wild, wacky world of music that we all live in. let's do the thing. Only can question I ever ask on this show. Both y'all are gonna have to answer it. I think I can't remember who went before last time. Raygun, I'm gonna have you go first. Why do you do what you do?
Because it's the only thing I know how to do well.
Fair. Stin, hit me.
Yeah, because here's a very raw, real answer. Because otherwise, I feel like I'm filling my time in life, wasting my time, not taking advantage of my time. And sometimes the only thing that makes me feel like I'm not just watching TV, doing whatever, is to create things. And creating things kind of helps satiate that need in me. So there you go. I answered that terribly. I did not articulate it very well, but basically the short answer is it's the best way to fill time.
Yeah, that was perfect.
I thought you were fantastic, and I don't need the commentary. I do that. Thank you. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being on the show. It's always a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you soon, maybe on election night. We'll see where the night takes us. Safe travels, and until next time.
Yep.
See you.
Take care. All right, there they go. Stin and Raygun. Chat pile, great dudes, great band, and if you haven't already picked up a copy, depending on when you're listening to this, pre-order it or just order it, and you can check out Cool World for your very own self. Let's listen to Mask with a C. All right, there you go. Mask with a C that time. That's off of Cool World. Great record by the band Chat Pile, a band I quite like, and I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Derivations and all. Love those dudes. They're doing something really cool and special, and it's great to see connecting with people. Name of the show is Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. Thank you so very much for listening to it. This show airs Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. Streaming live on YouTube and Twitch. Podcasted later everywhere. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding. ProtonicReversal.com. Always free. But if you like the show and you want to get episodes sooner, $1 a month at patreon.com/Protonic Reversal gladly achieves that goal. And gladly helps me pay the bills. So please jump in on that Patreon if you feel so inclined or haven't already. The show is on a lot of things. Liking on those things and subscribing on your platform of choice. Sharing a review around that helps people find the show. And that's greatly appreciated. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for your interest. What the hell else is going on? God damn, there's so many episodes of the show coming up. I got Freddie from the band Thank coming up next, Carl from Cal Marx, Steve from the Gits. Oh, there's so much happening. That's like the next 5 days. So if you're a Patreon supporter, you're gonna be like, listen to this nonsense, because there's gonna be a bunch of it. A bunch of other things coming up. I really appreciate everyone listening to this show, engaging with it. It's not lost on me. Let's see. Anything else? No, I think that's it. It's enough. Go get Cool World by Chat Pile. And stay safe out there.
Route 128, the dark and lonely.
Check you later.
I got my radio on. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Welcome to my top 10. I'd like to thank our sponsor. But we haven't got a sponsor. she was prepared to prove it. This one goes out to a special girl. But there is no special girl. It's the end of radio. The last announcer plays the last record. The last what? Leaves the transmitter. Circles the globe in search of a listener. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Is it really broadcasting if there's no one there to receive? It's the end of radio. As we come to the close of our broadcast day, got my radio